Okay, very good. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. This is the Red Hook Town Board meeting, Wednesday, June 28th. Could I ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Very good. Welcome, everyone. For the folks at home, I'd like you to be able to see what we'll be discussing tonight. We have a very brief public hearing on a stop sign on Elm Street and Aspinwall. We'll be discussing, probably not adopting anything tonight, however, but discussing and getting some input from the public on that. Then we move right into some projects related to Highway 2023 paving projects. We're also going to authorize an engineering services agreement. This is an escrow for an applicant. We're going to discuss and approve, hopefully, a resolution to use a portion of the monies for the purchase of the development rights on Cookingham from the CPF fund. Resolution to apply for Climate Smart Communities Grant, Forest Park Stormwater Infrastructure. We have identified a potential funding source there. We're going to set a public hearing for a WIA grant. We did this last year, which is a grant to help defray the capital costs for replacing the water tank for the water district. We've got one or two things to tackle with reorg, and then some discussion later on about stop signs and what's required in order to adopt changes to the schedule of stop signs in our community and how we might pursue that differently. And then department and committee reports. So we'll start off briefly with some announcements. We'd like to let you know that if you're not already aware, we've received a Clean Energy Communities grant to fund electric landscaping and demonstration projects throughout the community to help folks get a first-hand look at potentially the benefits of using electric landscaping, cleaner, quieter, and this is funded through that program, NYSERDA's Clean Energy Communities. We're going into 5 different neighborhoods, starting with July 10th into the Red Hook Estates, which is just across the street here, up a ways a little bit. We'll be there for the whole week and taking appointments, if you will, online. You can do that at electrifyredhook.org and get the information on how to do that, and you'll get a demonstration of how the equipment works and to see if that's something, and some education that goes along with it, and see if that's something you might be interested in. So we're moving from Red Hook Estates to College Park to Forest Park to Willow Park, which is behind the car wash off 199. Linden Acres, and then we hope to have some time for some Village of Red Hook properties the following week. You can call the Red Hook Community Center. This is a partnership effort with the Red Hook Community Center, which hires young adults, and that number is here on the flyer, 758-0077. So that starts July 10th. We'll be sending a newsletter out on that as well. Some benefit events. Hidden Hollow is having a golf tournament on July 17th, the proceeds of which go to help Horses and Heroes program. VFW is also having their golf tournament, so if you're a golfer, plenty to do in July. It's the annual VFW golf tournament fundraiser to support local veterans in need. Registration at the golf club, and you can call Ross Fenn. very nice gentleman. And that's what I have for announcements. Does anybody have anything else? Okay. We do want to let you know, otherwise on July 13th, that's Thursday, Town Hall will be closed. We will be having an electrical upgrade. As you may recall, we received grant funds to replace our backup generator. And so there needs to be one day in which they do an electrical upgrade, and that will be Thursday, July 13th. And we'll send out news of that as well. Okay, we do have a public hearing. Should we take, why don't we go ahead and do that? Let's start with our public hearing since it was scheduled for 7:35. Deanna, would you be kind enough to read the notice?
Notice of public hearing, Town of Red Hook. Please take notice that a public hearing will be held by the Town Board of the Town of Red Hook on June 28th, 2023 at 7:35 p.m. local time at the Town Hall, 7340 South Broadway, Red Hook, New York, 12571, to hear all interested persons on a proposed local law number E, proposed of 2023, entitled A Local Law Amending Chapter 131 of the Code of the Town of Red Hook entitled Vehicles and Traffic to add a new stop on Elm Street at Aspinwall Road. The amendment designates an additional stop intersection on Elm Street southbound at Aspinwall Road. Please take further notice that copies of said proposed local law are available for review at the Town Hall, 7340 South Broadway, Red Hook, New York, 12571. All interested persons will be given an opportunity to be heard in person or by directing comments in writing to the Town Board, 7340 South Broadway, Red Hook, New York, 12571. All reasonable accommodations will be made for persons with disabilities. In such case, please notify the town clerk in advance at the above address or by phone 845-758-4606 so that arrangements can be made. By order of the Town Board of the Town of Red Hook, dated June 13th, 2023, Deanna Cochran, Town Clerk, Town of Red Hook.
Thank you, Deanna. Okay, at this time, I'd like to open up the public hearing related to adding a stop sign at Elm Street and Aspinwall. Is there somebody who would like to speak on this topic?
Has there been any accidents at that location?
Anthony, if you have some comments, if you would come, say your name. Okay. And
Anthony Formisano, Upper Red Hook, 89 Reed Road. Has there been any accidents at that location?
I don't know the answer to your question.
Okay.
Okay.
So just maybe for a speeding situation or?
Again, I don't
Okay.
know. This came through a recommendation. A concerned resident contacted our highway superintendent as a recommendation to install a stop sign there.
So,
Just as a matter of order, if there is an intersection, people are required, whether there's a stop sign or not, to come to a complete stop. But that isn't at a T intersection yet. But they don't always know that.
okay, so that will be voted on tonight and passed, probably?
No, Anthony.
We don't know. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else like to speak on the matter? And if you,
Not about that, Robert, but I have a question about something else relating to the signs. Shall I bring it?
if it's related to the topic, the subject matter of the public hearing, we'll take comments on that. If it's related to something else, we'll have a public comment period right after this where you
Okay.
can speak.
Yeah, it's about different signs that we have.
Okay. Okay, anybody else like to speak on this topic? Okay, very good. So before we close the public hearing, I'd just like to add that there's a process by which we have to amend a local law in order to, you all are aware of this, the public may not be, amend a local law and amend a register of the list of roads where we have stop signs. It's not only a little bit labor intensive, it's very inefficient with our tax dollars to each time have to amend a local law to add a stop sign. So in discussion with our attorney to the town, we'll take a look at some other ways that we can both initiate a stop sign approval for this intersection, but future requests as well, without having to go through this process, which is rather expensive. The sign itself and the installation is inexpensive. For the folks at home, every time we adopt a local law or amend a local law, we give it to, we file it with the Department of State, but we also have to send it to General Code. There are fees with that. It's a digital a copy of our codes, and so it's not an efficient use of our dollars to keep, doing this on a one-off manner. So we'll look at the possibility of amending our code so that the schedule can be updated without having to amend our local law, and to also take a look at who can do that. Okay, whether or not the town board has to do that, or whether or not that can be done just by the highway superintendent. Okay, at this time, why don't we should we entertain extending the public hearing until July 11th? 7:35, makes sense?
So we can, because if we investigate changes, we would then talk about them at.
We would talk about them at the
extension?
next, this way we can keep it moving and figure out how we can do this in a more efficient manner. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Okay. So a motion to continue the public hearing to July 11th, 7:35 PM. Second by
Second.
Bill Hamel. All in favor, Jacob?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Tulio?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Okay. Very good. Okay, next up we have paving.
General public comment.
Oh, public comment. Let's do the public comment. Peter, would you like to come up and say your name? And then just recall, it's 3 minutes?
Yeah,
Public
Peter,
comment? Okay.
Peter Pinto, 35 Moore Road, Tivoli, New York.
Thank you.
I just want to bring up a couple of signs we have need some little fixing up. When you're coming down 199, now we have the don't turn on red at the fork in the road. Is that part of Red Hook signage?
It's the village.
That's the village. But does that concern?
Oh, I'm sorry, you're talking about at the fork in the road?
Yeah, at the fork in the road.
That's Mylan.
That's my one. Okay, they gotta fix that one, because there's almost a bad accident the other day, come down there, and people that haven't been there in a while, they're going through, and all of a sudden this guy stops in front of them. So that's a little bit off. Also, when you're coming down 199 and you're coming to the town, I noticed some people are taking the right on red, because where the sign is, the sun, if you're coming there a certain time of day, I propose that you need another sign.
So this is still at the fork. in the
That's at
road.
the center of
Yeah,
town, yeah.
so
When you're
that's-
coming down, you're looking right at the east, west, and that sun hits you.
This is in the
So
village?
you'll have to go to, no, it's still at the fork in the road.
No, I think.
No,
This
it's
is
right in
right
the town, right in the center of
He's
town.
talking- No, he's talking about the village.
Yeah,
Where,
Sorry about
where in
the
the
fork
village?
right at the center of town,
Oh.
199 Broadway, right there.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
When you come to that, you're looking right at the west, and that sun's right in your eyes. And I notice people that maybe haven't been in the town for a while, a couple of years, or coming up now, going to the wineries and stuff, they're just making that turn. And it's kind of, because you don't see it with the sun right there. So I'm thinking maybe you need another one on the side. The other thing too is like, I'm riding my bike a lot more, so I'm noticing these things. Like, I'm coming through these double streets, like on the side of Stewart's. It's a two-way street. There's no markings, and when you come to the corner, like, I stop, but there's no white marking there. Guy comes in right at me head on, and I'm stopped at the corner. So do we have to get some markings on the corners of these blocks to show that there's two-way traffic? Or maybe put a line down some of these two-way streets that people are just using as, some people are using them as a one-way. I mean, they're just making these wide turns and
So they're
coming
not
right into
staying
you.
in their lane, in the lane?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So maybe if they see the white line, I was sitting there with my bike, you know, some of this guy comes at me right head on. And I was about to go, thinking he's gonna come around. So I'm starting to see a lot more of that lately, being I'm on the bike. I just wanted to bring it up.
Thank you, Peter.
You're
We'll
welcome.
we'll defer to our highway super to look into that and make a recommendation.
Yeah, I think the more
It's a
stuff
road,
you get,
it's a
the better.
roadway, it's a roadway issue, yeah.
Was that Stewart's in the village?
Which Stewart?
Yeah,
The one
the stewards in the village.
on the
Oh, you're in the
north
village?
side.
Well, if you're talking about a particular road, I thought you were
Yeah,
just
well,
in
it's all of
general.
them in general,
I
but
thought
that
you were
one
talking about
seems
in
to be the
general.
worst, because everybody tries to
Again,
beat-
now, that's a village street, so.
Yeah, they tried to beat the light
Yeah.
at the center of town, so they all use Stewart as a quick, at the last minute, they'll turn in, but you're right there, it's like, ooh.
So you want to reach out to the village, but we'd be happy to pass on those comments.
Yeah, if
Because
you'd like
it took me
to
like
call
months just to
me,
get that traffic light fixed.
you can call me and I'll tell you where to direct your questions for each individual road.
Sounds good.
Okay, any other public comment? No? Okay. Thank you very much. All right, let's move right into agenda item number 1, which is to authorize a piggyback contract as it relates to the 2023 paving projects. Teresa, did you want to maybe sort of walk us through on what we're doing tonight with these?
Sure.
Okay.
So every year, we go out to bid in one way or another to pave the roads. Due to the delay in the passing of the state budget, we came in a little late for our typical sealed bids. We also have the opportunity to piggyback off of state contract or county contract. Getting a couple of quotes, it came to light that county contract would be the best value for the paving this year. And in order to piggyback on the county contract, we had to have certain things in place. Chris Shaw advised me on what we needed, so it's all in the packet.
Mhm.
If you do authorize using this method, we will go ahead and enter into contract with the vendor and put it on the schedule for this year.
Okay. Very good. And so there, what we've done is, we have a modified resolution, which would be number 47. It says, subject to certain adjustments specified in the county contract, and that I assume has to do with the runs, the number of runs.
This is an unusual project in that it is clusters of small roads instead of one long road. So in the county contract, if you're using less than 2,500 tons on one site, and a site is, do we have to move the equipment from these 3 roads to
Right.
those 3 roads? Then if it's less than 2,500 tons, then you have a 3% increase in the cost.
Right. Okay.
I think it's 2,500, it's either 2,500 or 1,000.
25.
But there's a
2,500
differential in
letter.
there, and if you were to use more tonnage on one site, then they would give you a decrease. But this year, we have all these little connector roads that need to be finished.
Will they allow you to cluster like Lisa and Laura Lane, and Lisa comes into it
Yeah.
as one site?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the 4 sites, that'll be 3
Right.
additional. Okay. Good. Any other questions?
Robin, I got a question. Who's responsible for
Peter,
9?
Peter, I'm sorry, this is not the public comment period.
Oh, no, I just had a question of what road you're talking about.
They're right here
Okay,
in the list, in the resolutions. Contract award for North Drive, Old Route 199, Pin Oak Drive, Sycamore Drive, Rokeby Extension, Dock Road, Station Hill, James Court, Laura Lane, and Lisa Court.
Is there anything for Route 9 itself, or is that the state?
Peter, I'm sorry, we can't spend the whole meeting
No, no,
discussing.
it's just a question. Who's responsible for
state-
Route 9?
state
The
road.
state, okay, that's all.
Okay. All right, very good. Anything else? Teresa, that's all we need to know.
Any questions for me?
Any questions? Okay, good.
Okay.
So we've got resolution 47. Thanks, Teresa. And I so move. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Good, thank you very much. And there's the letter detailing the 3% increase. And then we have all the backup documents that go along with that, with the contracts.
Contract form, I said you read.
We're on to the second item, which is authorize an engineering services
Yes,
agreement.
Okay.
There's an applicant who proposes to
Okay,
put
but
a
that's what
cell
will be signed.
tower.
Okay. With all the attachments. We'll talk about it tomorrow. I'm not gonna be here, so.
Wow,
Is he down at page 129?
is that what the page is?
This is all the bid contract related stuff for the roads.
Right, so copy of the state contract, I mean, the county contract, and copy of the prevailing wage notice and all of that, yeah.
Yeah, it's all here.
Lots and lots of detail.
And
Yeah,
who
maybe
would
next
sign
time,
numbers.
we don't need to put the whole prevailing wage notice in the
Yeah,
packet. If we
yeah.
want to just put the first page or
Yeah,
something,
we-
yeah,
yeah.
that would be adequate.
Maybe a
That's
good
signed by
idea.
the supervisor, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but
All right, we'll get there. Just so you know what a prevailing wage statement looks like. Okay. We're getting there.
I couldn't believe how long it was when I was going through.
I know.
Between that and the building department.
Right, yeah, uh-huh.
No, that's still prevailing wage.
There we go. Here's our next
Couple
one.
more. There you go.
Resolution 48, so there's an applicant who wishes to construct some cellular equipment, and the planning board is going to escrow funds to hire a consultant to review the application. The agreement allows collection of up to $10,000 without further approval. It's all payable by the applicant. Any questions?
Nope.
All right, resolution number 48. Can I so move? Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Christine. All in favor, Jacob?
Aye.
Julia?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Okay. Moving right along. So, if you've been following along, the town is going to acquire both the east and west sides of Cookingham Farm for a variety of public purposes. We are not going to retain the farm portions of these projects. We are, however, going to put permanent conservation easements on both sides. And right now, we have already approved the purchase. We now have the figures apportioned for the conservation easement and further detail the covenant to farm and the PPR. So essentially with our conservation partner, Scenic Hudson, the conservation easement and those other instruments represent about $800,000 of the purchase price to be split 50-50, and the apportionment is detailed here in the resolution. And so one of the things that I'd like to do is to show you, if I can get it up here, the map. Here's a draft map we just received, again from our conservation partner. This is the east side here. You'll see, if you're familiar with the property, here is Route 9. That is Cookingham Lane on the north. The conservation easement will cover the red line here, all of these areas here, follow my cursor, and including all the way through and around to the backside, with the exception of the existing house lot here, currently owned by Mary Cookingham. There'll be a reservation of approximately 12 acres here for potentially single-family affordable housing. There are 2 complex areas where the farmer can have, in this case, both residential, which already exists, and agricultural infrastructure. And then a second one where there is the ability to put agricultural structures here as well. There'll also be language if for some reason it can't fit within the complex because of the size, that they can make a request to the conservation partner if they need to go slightly outside of the boundaries for the infrastructure. There is a reservation, this is a resource protection area, so there'll be no removal of trees, for example. There'll be no working of the soils right around the water resource here. Also, the trees here, which act as both the scenic buffer and the buffer to the agricultural lands, will be a resource protection area as well. So this is a draft map. It's not fully matched up to the survey, but it'll give the folks at home some idea. There's also an area here, a slight buffer, because right here is the Sawkill, and so the farmers will be prohibited from plowing, soil erosion, those types of things, grazing right next to the stream itself in this very small area. We also have another map. We have the recommendation from the CPF Community Preservation Board as to the application. It was voted unanimously to recommend that the town board fund this application. As a reminder, that Frontfield has the highest ranking, or a portion of the farm, I should say, has the highest ranking in the CPF fund. Here's the survey map. Again, color coded, sort of the front part of the farm parcel, the rear part, the house lot, what is being reserved potentially for a small affordable housing, single family development. Okay. So the resolution, which is resolution 49, grants the approval of using $800,000 for the CE and associated costs, not to exceed an additional $100,000.
So, but the $400,000 from our CPF.
Exactly, $400,000 from our
Or
CPF.
up to 500, including the other costs.
Total, right.
Right, okay, just to be clear.
So, it recites the public hearings and the approvals, 96.7 acres approximately, and again, survey to be finalized. Any questions?
Nope.
All set? Very exciting. Okay, I so move resolution number 49.
Second.
Thank you, Christine. Further discussion? If not, all in favor, Julia?
Aye.
Bill? Jacob?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Second stuff.
Next up, okay, so, if you've been watching, you know that over the last year or so, or even longer, There has been an issue with, we'll just say, stormwater infrastructure throughout our community, in particular spots. In Forest Park, there have been some areas that have had, significant issues. And we have been exploring ways that we might be able to assist or retrofit the infrastructure. We had an engineering study conducted in the neighborhood looking at existing drainage infrastructure and coming up with a couple of proposals, and one of which was to create essentially grass swales. Then there was something you could modify and do a hybrid, both grass and some piping as well, closed piping. And the cost of a fully closed pipe retrofit would be expensive. And we're fortunate that we feel like we've identified a potential grant opportunity, and that's with the Climate Smart Communities program. You might want to put a space in between climate and smart. It's a 50-50 match, so that would mitigate $170,000 of the cost for the project. It would be a completely enclosed pipe drainage for $187,500 match. This application, unlike the CFAs, which is due on the 27th of July, this one's due earlier. So we would need to take action on this tonight. Thoughts, folks?
So moved.
That's a good thought.
Why would we not want to try for a grant if we could get it?
Okay. Anyone else?
Second.
Okay. I like these thoughts. All right, Christine. Well, the folks in Forest Park, especially those who have been impacted, I think they'd be happy to hear. So we've got a motion by Christine, a second by Jacob. Any further discussion? Julia?
Aye.
Mr. Hamel?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Thank you all very much. We are up to, is that 49 or 50?
That was
Yeah.
50.
Yes, 50. Let's move on to 51. So last year, the first year, we applied for a grant to replace the water tank. The water district has gone back and forth on trying to analyze each and every year what the best course of action would be to repaint the tank or to replace, and I think at this point they believe that replacement is the way to go. And so we last year applied for monies to mitigate the cost of replacing the water tank, and we were not successful, but we're hopeful with additional funding maybe we have a better shot this year. And of course, for the folks who are in our water district, it behooves us to try to get as much money as we can. The cost of a new tank is now up to slightly over $4 million. So this obviously needs to be revised, and so what we are doing tonight is entertaining a resolution to call a public hearing regarding the increase and improvement of water district facilities for water district number 1. And it references the preliminary engineering report dated back in August and supplemented by a letter just yesterday, as a matter of fact, detailing the increase. And so a portion of it would be paid from the reserve fund, $300,000, and a calls for the public hearing, 7/11 at 7:35. I think we already have one now. May we amend this resolution to be 7:45? Okay. Anybody? Resolution number 51, and I so move.
Second.
Thank you, Bill. Anyone else? Jacob?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Julia? Thank you very much. Okay, we're moving right along. We've got just a couple things we need to do on reorg. Anyone who wasn't reappointed to their term in 20, term ending in 22 is obviously a holdover and still in position. But we want to make sure on those planning board ones, remember we were going to entertain another applicant for the planning board. So we have to update, at least our schedule, Deanna, shows Christina Ducharme as a holdover since 21, and Arthur Salmon, who we just appointed last year.
Is that to fill out the remainder?
There was another remainder. So, these are 7-year terms, and so I'd like to propose that we renew those 7-year terms so we can then focus on the, that vacant spot that we have. So I'd like to make a motion, we reappoint Christina Ducharme for a period ending 2028, and Arthur Salmon for a period ending 2029. Do we have any thoughts on that? Or we can just leave them holdovers for now until we figure out the right schedule, who wants to be for what terms.
Are you worried that some of these other ones here are not correct, that we need to adjust them? Is that what you're saying?
No, I think the vacancy is 2020, no, the vacancy that we have now is going to end this year too. So I think we just want to, we can do all 3 of these together if you want. We can wait and do all 3 together. We just want to make sure we have the right, the appropriate ones in the appropriate sequence.
Because we keep the vacant term, well, we're still in 2023,
Whoever.
obviously, but.
Right, whoever
If-
we appoint, if we have somebody to appoint this year, will only fill out the remainder of the year.
Right.
Unless we want to swap. You understand what I'm saying? Unless we want a different sequence.
Well, okay. We haven't heard about anybody else that's thinking about not finishing their term, right? Which would.
No, we have
sort of
not.
throw things into
We have not.
confusion.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't see why we can't reappoint them.
To those terms.
Yeah, might as well get
Okay.
started with the new sequencing.
Okay. So 2028 and 2029.
Mhm.
My motion stands with that. Okay. Fine. Are you seconding?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion, Julia?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Jake?
Aye.
Good, thank you. So if we could update that, and then that last spot that's vacant will just be temporary.
If we're in this section, do you want to talk about the water we got?
Right, so we have a couple resignations on the communications committee.
Mhm.
We just received, so if we can make those changes, Deanna, also to our list.
Doesn't that kind of get rid of the committee?
Well, I think perhaps, but we should consider those folks were terrific. They constituted in order to update our website and work on some additional features. And so I think, so Joey with the resignation, Sarah, Lisa's moving out of town, Vicky,
She resigned.
she resigned, so yeah, so in essence,
It's
Well,
already.
yeah. So, maybe it's, they wanna pause or whatever, but we should think about
Yeah, I think we should.
what
think
the
about
next
it.
phase of
Yeah.
communications is.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
the
'Cause-
website's in pretty
Yeah.
good shape, I think,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, because the people who've been showing up otherwise have been Teresa, Deanna, and me, basically.
And you,
So,
okay.
I don't know, I have to
you know,
look at it.
if there are issues that come up, we can address those.
I'll look
You know,
at it.
town employees and think
I know,
about
I know.
repopulating, maybe do charges.
Yeah. I think it'd be great to get some people who are good with
Because
apps.
I only heard.
Yeah.
Because I think that's where everything is these days, and
I only heard.
it's way above my capabilities, but I'd love us to get
I didn't
a little bit more into that, right?
So we're just gonna put them on pause.
I'm gonna listen to the
Yeah.
minutes because I
Yeah.
asked.
We're not gonna dissolve it, but.
No.
Ask something.
Yeah.
Until we
Told
discuss
us
the
no.
charter change, or charge change.
I have to look at it.
Right, I think it's gonna become like some of the other committees where they're needed for specific projects and efforts. But we should think about maybe, because it'll take us a few months to get together folks who are really good with apps.
Yeah.
So think about it when you're out and about, some folks who are good with it. Okay. That's all I have for reorg.
Actually, before you leave reorg, I just want to make an edit on the front sheet. I think it's just a
The
clerical. but-
deputy CEO thing.
No, yeah, well, I think that it's supposed to say, and I think you did appoint it, but want you confirm that,
Yeah.
that as deputy building inspector and
Yeah.
deputy CEO, correct?
That wasn't in the minutes, but.
Could you just confirm that, if you want to do a motion to confirm it, so.
Well, we did that the other
I
meeting,
know you
but
did,
sure,
but could you
we'll
just
do
please-
another motion to confirm that Brandon Mullins is hired as the deputy building inspector.
Right.
Well, actually, building inspector,
Oh, I'm sorry.
building inspector.
I wasn't told that either.
One, and deputy ZEO.
No, but he's still, well, Steve is still building inspector. I know these are civil service titles, but in
But-
terms
but as
of
far as it-
the
yes.
code titles,
Building
right, he's the
inspector,
deputy to Steve.
Deputy building
Right.
inspector.
Right, so that's what that should say, and then deputy zoning enforcement officer as well, correct?
Okay.
And then Gary is a deputy, so he needs to be on a separate line,
What is he, deputy
building
building
inspector,
inspector?
right?
Right.
Right.
Patrick's
He's-
still in here as well.
He shouldn't have the same line, he should be on a separate line, right?
So you want building inspector, Steve Cole.
Correct.
Then you want deputy building inspector, Gary Beck. And then you
Brandon
want
Mullins, yeah,
deputy zoning officer and deputy
Brandon.
building inspector, Brandon.
right.
You got it.
If you want to list it
Right.
separately, fine.
Yep,
Okay.
just to
Okay.
be clear, so that we have that
Very
sorted
good.
out.
And who are you asking about?
Patrick's also still in there as secretary. The supervisor.
I'm sorry?
Am I missing that one? Same.
Under supervisor.
Yeah, Faith should be listed.
To replace Patrick.
Oh, right,
Oh, but that's just, yeah, that's a supervisor's appointment, so the board doesn't have to approve that, but yeah, sure.
Yeah. Just
okay.
note
Yeah,
that
yeah,
it's
yeah,
updated.
if we're making
Sure, sure,
updates
sure.
to the
Yeah.
cover sheet there.
Sure.
And I'll just mention, I think on the housing committee, we have one member who will be moving out of town, and I believe is resigning, but you'll confirm, I can get back to you maybe.
Yeah, well, and she sent a resignation, but not to the town, so
Right.
we can get
Well,
that.
once she moves out of town, she's no longer eligible. Yep.
Is there-
So town clerk appointments need to be updated on this list,
I got it.
Deanna.
Yeah, I got it. I'll do it.
And all of this is already occurred, but just if the list would be updated.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, that's all I have on, reorg. And, we've already had the discussion on the, stop sign, so we're looking at alternatives so that we don't have to amend the local law each and every time
May or may not have that.
in a costly way. Installing a sign isn't expensive, but boy, it sure is to amend the local law, get it adopted, get it through general code, so we wanna be more efficient. Okay. Very
You
good.
anticipate that by the next meeting, we should have some progress on a solution to that? I hope.
If not, we'll take it up at the
We'll have to do
second
some
meeting.
research and
Yeah, it's a
So
holiday week,
it's-
so
Yeah.
I think
We'll-
you're
we'll-
right to question whether
we'll-
we'll
we'll
be
try,
ready by the
but-
next meeting, but, you know, we'll see.
yeah.
Okay,
May not.
let's dive right into, here are the list if folks wanna know where there are stop signs. And to my point, every time we add one to a list, it costs us a couple $1,000 easy, which is absurd. So we need to revise the local law that allows us to just change the schedule without having to incur those costs.
Just put stop signs everywhere.
Just put stop signs everywhere instead of trees. Okay. On that note, who would like to do building and zoning for the portion of June that has already occurred?
I'm the liaison.
Okay, liaison, but you, and your microphone needs to be a little closer.
All right, there we go.
Thank you, sir.
So as of
And
today, these came in, there were 38 building permits issued. There were 113 inspections. It was very busy. And they've issued 27 either certificates of occupancy or completion. And they've raised $10,059 in revenue as part of that process. As Julie and commented earlier, it's a very thick report. This is double-sided, and the font is really small, but I did look it over online today, and it gives
There it went.
it gives all the addresses
It was so
of all the
big, but-
locations where they've done all the inspections and what they're for, the types of construction, you know, the things that people are putting in and getting approval for, so, and almost everything passed, I think.
Okay. And Bill, just, you said raise revenue, but of course we don't raise revenue. All we do is try to
Collect
offset
fees.
the
Yes.
expenses so that taxpayers don't support
Right.
other taxpayers for the
Thank you for
project.
that clarification.
Yeah.
Which you guys have, close it.
Well, look at that.
You lost.
I mean, no, technology is not cooperating at all. We'll just,
Well, we're just doing the board report, so,
yeah, who would like to go with the next board report?
Should we do the highway department?
yep.
All right.
Please, Jacob, if you
Yeah,
would.
so the Town of Red Hook Highway Department Board Report for June 28th. For the Rec Park dirt pile, the Town Highway Department staff loaded and transported 17 truckloads of dirt from the pile at the Rec Park to the St. Margaret's property, so thanks to the staff for doing that. The staff also completed AED CPR refresher course on Wednesday, June 15th. For the Sauk Hill Bridge replacement, the survey of the bridge area is complete. HVEA has proposed a meeting to discuss the next steps. For the truck route, New York State Department of Transportation has scheduled a meeting for review of the proposed route and signage within the state right-of-way. The Forest Park drainage study is currently drainage issue is currently under review by Ty and Bond. We talked about that earlier for potential funding. Teresa also made a note about the salt shed replacement we talked about for a few meetings, and Ty and Bond is looking for grants to help with the replacement costs for that. For the fuel pump upgrade, the new fuel pump installation is complete. The software is installed and the new billing format will be in place for the month of June. And then the final note is for the Elm Street stop sign evaluation, which we've talked about a few times tonight.
I don't know if that's our website or whatever, but it looks like it's freezing again. You had mentioned salt sheds, so, you know, every year there's new amounts of funding in these different pots for these various causes. And so as it turns out, in 2023, for some reason, in the entire state of New York, there's $600,000 available for salt sheds. So clearly,
Get
we're
one really
not,
nice
we're
one.
not gonna get a grant then. So we're gonna have to look to next year for an application. I don't know why sometimes they change the amounts to be so drastically different, because you count on these sources. I know, just gonna have to go, what's next?
Just forget.
You can drag. it to
Police
the side.
report.
You can drag the little pedal
Yeah,
aside.
go around to the,
I know, that's what I did, and
Yeah.
it froze.
You got it.
Okay, now, don't jinx it.
No, you
I went
passed.
too far.
You're doing rec now, is that what we're
No,
doing?
police. Well, we could, if you're right there, I could
If
do
we're
it
stuck,
if you'd
we're-
like.
We're doing the report wherever the
This
computer
is the
stops,
police
that's
report.
all it is, okay. Very good. Yes,
So,
please.
okay, so liaison to the police department. For the month of May, they responded to 108 incidents in Red Hook, and then they separate typically, they do contract work for 122. Excuse me?
You speak a little louder.
Oh, sorry. There were 108 incidents that they responded to in the town, and another 22 in Tivoli where they are contracted to perform police services. They issued 38 tickets, moving violations, and they've made one arrest. The report outlines the locations and the various types of incidents that they responded to in alphabetical order. So it's there for you to read.
We want to congratulate Lieutenant Hildenbrand on his promotion, and Sergeant Sterrett, who, since we last met, were both promoted by the village to those new positions. Okay, recreation, Christine.
Look, it's really, look, it's short.
Christine, you
It's
always
short.
promise to make it
It's short.
quick, okay.
Well, there's so much happening.
Just next to the building department.
Right,
Right.
exactly. The rec department and the building department vying for largest report. But they, very busy as always in the rec department, a lot of focus on the summer rec program. So that will be starting on July 5th. Pretty much fully full with signups. I don't think they're turning away late signups at this point because we can't have more than 200 participants per day. So if everybody doesn't always show up all the time on every day, so it flexes and works. We are fully staffed again. We had a lot of staff return, so that was great, made life easier for the department to hire that. Some things we've already talked about that are in the report. I do want to mention in the highway department report, there was the talk of trucking 17 loads of dirt over to St. Margaret's. And so the rec department team will be moving that dirt around over there and spreading it in the area around the front, a lot of it in the area around the front porch, I believe. They've got plans for some other things too. At the moment, we are all caught up on mowing, which is pretty amazing. Now we're having rain, so they'll probably be behind again really quickly. Work continues on the dugouts for the baseball fields at Rec Park West. They got new roofs. They have shelving. Some general projects that they always have for clean, fixing the shed and working on the equipment, etc. And we had a tree come down over on the Wetlands Walk near Apple Ring Road. So they were able to cut it up enough to move the pieces into the woods. But the wetland does overflow the trail on the north side of the bridge, so we're gonna have to look at what we can do to raise the level of the trail for that not happening anymore. And, yep, I said that. Oh, the security cameras, continued maintenance on the security cameras, so just so everybody knows, we do have security cameras in the parks now to monitor the high amount of investments that we have made there in equipment and facilities. And that's it. How was that?
Very good, that was
Thank you.
terrific. Thank you very much. And yes, the summer rec program, we have blown through 200. Fortunately, as you said, not all show up in one day. But it's something that we work so hard to keep the costs down, because this is a true benefit to so many families here in Red Hook, that they can send their kids to camp. We have people who say that they've moved here in part because they knew
Because it's
that they
and
could
it's
do
an
it.
all-day,
Yeah.
it's an all-day
We
camp.
expanded that several years ago.
Few years ago, yep.
Yeah. So, kudos to the rec park team and all our counselors. The kids have a great time, and we hope they get better weather than we've had recently, because that won't be fun. Okay, Water District, Bill Hamel,
What?
I'm being loud.
Am I being punished?
Yeah, you're being kind of, you get all the exciting
Well,
ones.
Yeah, I know. Last night, the water board met for, I guess, maybe quarterly or so. And this report that you see on the screen is a report of the monthly activities of the water department in terms of basic operational functions, like how much they're pumping and whether things are broke or whether things got, fixed during the last month. But if you scroll up to to page 3, the top of next page, right there. So part of the water board's job is to provide the town board recommendations on the water department and things going forward. And I wanted to point the public's attention to the storage tank. The water board is unanimous, and these are experts in the field, people who run water departments, and not just here, in other places, that the cost, while high for replacing the tank, not only is it actually probably going to be more cost effective than just repainting in terms of the length of service that the tank would be in, but the disruption to the department, it's just not, their view was that it's not a cost effective thing to spend $1 million plus to have the tank painted and rehabbed and get, maybe 7 to 10 years of life left out of the existing tank, which is over 30 years old, versus having a new tank, which also has all kinds of new technology and other things that make the operation of the water department more efficient. So they're unanimous about that. We obviously did a recommendation to your resolution today. The other thing that they brought up, and there will be minutes of the meeting that will be posted next month, but our water department is, parts of it are between 50 and 70 years old, depending on where the various developments were put in. And the lifespan of a water infrastructure, you're pushing 80 years, and we had a water main break this past month, which is recorded in here. And so there's discussion about sort of how to think going forward for the future in terms of what should the water department be doing in terms of looking at our water department in the different sections, where's the aging, and thinking about the best way going forward to deal with that. They have a nice amount of reserve funds, but ultimately
These projects are very
they're
expensive.
very expensive. The reserve funds help pay for basically extinguishing the brush fire and making the repair, but you don't want to get in a situation where they all start going. And they service about 500 homes, so it's something for us, the town board. They'll be providing us input and recommendations, but it's something for us to be thinking about long-term for the future.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Who will save the trees?
Jacob.
The Tree Preservation Commission.
The tree, okay.
So for the June 28th tree meeting, a few notes here. The 3 nesting boxes and several tree seedlings have been sold since the Arbor Day celebration, adding an additional $75 to the tree account. The new trees at Rec Park West have been watered on a regular schedule. The area around each of the 41 trees planted by the Tree Commission at Rec Park West have been weed whacked. There's a watering schedule for the month of July. The fall tree planting site will most likely be Bud's Corner Road or Rockefeller Lane, and there will be no meeting in July. That's it.
Because they'll be watering,
Yeah,
right?
that's the schedule, right?
All right, water, 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 although Mother Nature's doing a pretty good job of keeping things wet right now. Okay, Bill, you can do the dog control report, but I was at a couple of these loose dog scenes in June. You
Well,
probably
that'll
saw
be,
the photo of me lifting
Yeah,
that
So these are
giant.
only April and May.
yeah. So anyway, well, you could, we'll do May 1st, that's fine.
Yeah, right.
Because it incorporates the April. But one thing that's important to note, that April, it says there were 5 dog bites. There were not. There was 1. However, the way they record their incidents, there were 5 separate calls made about that one incident. So there was 1 dog bite in April. In May, there was a dog bite. I'm trying to get information, a little more information about that incident. They haven't gotten back to me. And as you can see on the bottom, they give us reports about other calls they get. So there's one about a coyote. And then last month, there was, scroll, is April in there? Yeah, if you scroll to the bottom, there was an issue about some sheep. And then that was the dog bite that shows 5 is what's discussed down below. So they try to give us a little more information, but hopefully I'll get some more information on the bite that was recorded in May. I did send them a note. They said they would get back to me. They would get back to me by the time of this meeting. So.
And Bill, can you just make sure that they're always giving the complainant an opportunity to file a complaint in that situation? They need to make sure that the person who was injured, is aware of what their opportunity is in terms of the dog.
Oh, okay. In terms of the dog.
Right.
Right.
In terms of dealing with the dog.
Okay.
Right.
I'll,
Okay, just remind them that that's their obligation to do that.
Have we had some
Okay.
feedback to the contrary?
No, I'm just,
Okay.
there's nothing in this report. so-
Oh, about
Yeah.
the follow-up.
Just make sure that they're doing the appropriate follow-up.
Yeah.
Yep, okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Deanna, does our town clerk have a public service announcement related to dogs?
I guess your dog's
Licensing,
licensed.
since all of these dog incidents that at least I've been on the scene for, these dogs were not licensed.
I know.
So I
Yeah.
think we need to do some type of a campaign again and get folks, maybe in our next mailer that we do, we can do reminders how important it is. Folks get ticketed for not, right, the SPCA tickets.
I don't know.
Yeah, they do.
Are they
Yeah,
wild dogs?
They do.
No.
No,
they're
no,
house
no,
dogs.
no, these are
I-
people's dogs.
Honestly, I don't know,
Yeah,
and
Yeah, they
I
do,
help
they
people,
do get,
but
they
they
do get
don't.
ticketed if
Only if
they're
they're-
loose.
Only if the SPCA is aware.
Is aware of it, yeah.
I've only been called about 3 dogs, this one
Yeah,
and the 2 dogs in June.
yeah.
Well, I can say.
And 1 dog in February.
They did do a host of very successful vaccination program here at Town Hall.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
successful,
yeah.
and so, if we could try to maybe follow the model that we did with the outreach to the public
Yeah.
about that.
I did give them brochures.
Okay, you did. People.
I got most of them back.
Okay.
See, it's very hard because the vets, and even the SPCA, they don't want to tell people, and I don't know why. But I think it's something that also the vets should do. If they're giving a rabies vaccination, they can give the pamphlet. And because that's what we need, is a record of the rabies.
Okay, well, let's
Yeah,
figure,
I can.
let's
I
figure
think
out,
it's-
we'll figure out.
I
some-
think it's important, I
Yeah.
just don't know how to do it.
As part of the next mailing, we'll mention it. Okay. All right, next up, what do we have? I think that's it. Folks, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Before we conclude, we're going to entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss a matter under negotiation. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Christine. All in favor, Jacob?
Aye.
Julia?
Aye.
Bill? Thank you very much. Good night, everyone.
Robert,